What up? And welcome to another episode of From the Script to the Screen. And what up? Welcome back to the My Hero edition of From the Script to the Screen. Going over season 6 of My Hero Academia. 16th episode of the season is out, covering chapters 299 and part of chapter 300 of volume 31 of the manga, covered here. And more of a laid-back episode this week. As you guys have been watching, disclaimer as always, make sure you watch the episode before you watch this video. That way nothing is spoiled. But getting into the episode, we know that things have taken, it's more calm because that's it. You know, the battle has kind of reached this point. So everybody's kind of recovering at this point, licking their wounds, trying to see just exactly how much damage was caused and things like that. So I wanted to start in the middle of the episode because something that I wanted to show you guys this week also was the My Hero Vigilante covers, which is a kind of like a side story, a manga that hasn't been animated yet, but shows kind of like the darker side of the My Hero society, which I feel like is starting to take its head, you know, show itself in this episode. We see that Best Genius and Hawks are kind of riding around the city and trying to basically put out as many fires as they can. We know that a couple of villains have broken out of jail. We know that a couple of villains just have decided to come out of hiding and take advantage of the chaotic society that's, you know, out now. So they've kind of been running around and they're seeing firsthand just how much disapproval the citizens have with the heroes, and just how much the villains are able to do now with not as much support from police or from heroes. We also start to see the word hero being put to the test. You know, not everything is sunny. Not everybody is approving of what the heroes are doing. So we see some of the heroes not being able to withstand the tough times that are out now. We see some heroes retiring and not, basically putting up their capes and deciding that they're going to do something else with their time. You know, they don't want to deal with the scrutiny that the heroes are dealing with. And they don't want to basically be held responsible for the bad times that are going on now. So, like I said before, we have to give respect to the people that are still trying to do their job, still trying to run around and actually protect the citizens, still trying to actually be a hero. We see there in that panel, like I said, not all the citizens are happy that the heroes are coming, to their rescue. They feel like the damage is already done and it's a little bit too late. But we all know that the heroes did do the best that they could. And like I said, if it wasn't for the heroes taking the initiative and trying to stop the villains before they even really put a plan together, I feel like there could have been more chaos. So even though, nobody's happy with the outcome, we still gotta give the heroes a little bit of leeway, in my opinion. I do feel like they tried the best that they could and tried to minimize the damage, but we know that wasn't as much of a success as they wanted it to be. But something that I did want to leave, like I said, I wanted to leave the beginning of the episode till the end, because the beginning of the episode was interesting for a couple things. But one thing that I was happy to finally get was some backstory about Hawks. We know that Hawks has played a big part in this whole operation, from the villain standpoint and from the hero standpoint. So it was kind of cool to see who this kid was, who this person was that was so important to this, and that was I guess you could say held with such respect to a certain point. We see that Hawks has been trained by this agency since young, and so we could understand why he's somebody that's so good at what he does and takes what he does so seriously. And something that I was also interested in seeing, something that I was happy to see, was that we see just how back Hawks' ties to Endeavor go. We see that his father was somebody that was apprehended by Endeavor, and that's kind of why Hawks felt like the whole hero thing and the actual hero society kind of came knocking on his door and became a reality to him, which is what led to him and his mother deciding to kind of try to align with the government and kind of try to put Hawks in the program. Now, why something that is also interesting is that Hawks is basically the creation of what Endeavor himself wanted. If you paid attention, you see that Hawks' father only had a couple feathers on his arms actually. And interesting, kind of creepy, we see that his mother had a quirk where she had 2 eyeballs in her vicinity, basically, watching her, keeping her protected at all times. You see in that panel and in the flashback that, like I said, her mother's, Hawks' mother's quirk was basically like she had her own, eyes in back of her head. She had her something to protect her at all times, which is why you see it makes sense of why Hawks has so much control over his feathers and why he ends up having wings on his back. Basically, a combination of both quirks. So it was cool to see that Hawks was a product of something that Endeavor was trying to do with him and his wife, who we see come in at the end of the episode. We know that Endeavor's quirk is fire. His wife's quirk, even though we haven't really seen it, some type of ice. And so Todoroki is basically the combination of that. Same thing as Hawks. 2 quirks coming together. And basically improving and being able to upgrade both quirks and making them both stronger. So it was cool to see. The episode ends with Endeavor's family coming in on him. Again, we know that this whole situation was very close and more traumatizing for the Todoroki family because they came to see that their son, who they thought had kind of burned himself in the forest, not necessarily committed suicide, but due to again quirks and his body not being able to maintain his quirk, thought that he kind of burned himself. But we see that he's been alive this whole time, and now we get to see just how much the family is affected by it and what they plan to do about it. We know that a lot of the people put the blame on Endeavor for this situation, but we know that Endeavor didn't have everything to do with the League of Villains, but Dabi did say how he did murder a couple people and that he was basically willing to do all that he could to make Endeavor suffer. So is kind of responsible for putting that type of bad apple into the world. But we see that he's kind of at a crossroads because he feels like he can't really engage with his son. So it's a touchy subject. We'll see what the family discusses next week. But with that being said, laid back episode. We'll see what happens next week. I appreciate y'all for checking it out. Let me know what y'all thought about it. Peace.